So good evening, everybody, and welcome to the July meeting. I'm going to mute everybody here, and then why don't we get started? And I'm seeing my computer, all your images are slowing down here. So perhaps just to kind of expedite things, Gary, could you start up the presentation? Thank you. Okay, so what I did was I took the whatever you sent me, I put into the presentation. And I think I used everything that everybody sent. So what I would kind of like to do here is, as we go through, you'll see your name and your call sign on the first page of your information. Some of you have one page, some have two, and a couple of guys have three. So just go ahead and talk about whatever you would want to talk about, and we'll get some comments perhaps as we go through here. And this is the summary for the ORC. 1322 for CW, 35 on digital, 906 on phone, so it looks pretty good. And still to do the bonus points.
I couldn't hear the CW one. What was that again?
1,322.
You know, next year 40 phone's going to be a little bit more contesting and a lot less talking away here. So relish in it, Vic. There, it'll be different next year.
So we shouldn't say only 1322 this year, and okay. But you guys did a good job. A lot of contacts and some satellite contacts. That's always impressive on field day, as busy as it is. Okay, all right. Do the next one, Gary.
Well, that was CW. For me, there was two highlights. One was Mark got reintroduced into CW contesting after 50 years, and I hope he sticks with it here. He obviously is good at CW. He just needs to learn the ins and outs of contesting. He's going to be racking up a lot of points. And the other thing I thought was really fun was using Vic's Flex radio. I only briefly played around with them on the Hamvention back in 2019, but giving it a good workout. That's a very impressive radio. And that's my comment.
So Mark, what was it like?
I had a really great time. My heart was pounding big time when I made that contact. And I have to kind of tell you the second half of the story, and this involves Vic. I made the couple contacts. I took a break. I was, you had to chill out a little bit. I came back, and Gary was done operating, and Vic was at the console. And Gary and Vic have different F keys set up for responding to the person you're talking to. So when you're doing CW, you have to copy CW. You have to type in what you're hearing to call that as a section of class. And then you hit F keys to respond. And their F keys had switched. So I'm not only not used to doing F keys, now I have to remember a different set of F keys. And on top of that, I'm dyslexic. So you can believe it, like 4 hours of sleep and different sets of F keys, the dyslexia kicked in. And Vic saw me go into this kind of like, thing. I'm just like, dude, take over. I can't do this anymore. So it was fun. But the second time I just kind of went, yeah, I have to go back and practice now. So that's my story.
Well, great. I'm glad you were able to get some CW operation in and learn from the pros. So yeah. It's always kind of fun too. So.
I'm still not muted, right? So I can mention again, we had 1,322 and I was one of those, you guys. All right, thanks.
Okay. Okay, next, Gary.
Okay, so what you're looking at, the first picture on the top left is Sunday morning. This is about 6 o'clock, 6:30 Sunday morning, I would say. And Mike, who's I can't think of his call sign right now. Anyway, I can't think of his call sign, Mike York. And he set up,
AE9MY,
what is it?
AE9MY,
KE9MY?
Able Easy.
Yeah, the KE9MY. So he set up the breakfast. He did all this on himself. He's also the guy that does all of the electricity for us. So he's got 2 generators that he brings, and he switches between the 2 of them, an electric panel, and runs the wires out to each of our tents and keeps us going all night long. I don't think we were without electricity for even 3 minutes total the time of the field day. When he switches over, it's a few seconds that we are without electricity. And there he's frying up a great big batch of cubed potatoes with some onion. And we had waffles. Nope. Jean Ann made sweetbread. And he made the sweetbread into French toast. So we had that, and then we had eggs and sausages. So you can kind of picture, we've been operating for, 18 hours, something like that. And to have a breakfast like that available really makes a big difference. The picture to the right of that is Gary Sutcliffe, XT. And that is midnight. So I took a number of pictures at midnight just before I went into the tent to take over for him. I don't know, it's just kind of a cool picture, I think. And then down the bottom left is Kenny, who's our field day chairman. He's working a couple of digital stations, and this was in the main sitting area that we have. And in the background, you can see Gary and Jean Ann's tent. And then I came in and visited Chuck and Jim for a little bit, and Jim was recovering from a cold. So he was feeling good, but his throat was not up to par. And he was making contacts, and he said, I gotta have something to drink. And Chuck says, well, there's a beer in the fridge. So he grabbed a beer. And there he is.
It was high octane beer too, Vic. So
Oh.
he could have given me a shot and it would have had the same effect. But Chuck is a connoisseur of beer, and he had all kinds of exotic beers. Some of them tasted more like wine than beer, but it got rid of the cold, put it that way.
All right. Is there more pictures or not?
I think that's it. Yeah, that was just one page. So,
Okay.
okay, very good. Okay, next one. Nate, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I mean, I could, these are just the pictures of the towers we had up there, the blue tower trailer with the tribander, the green tower trailer with the other tribander, and then my tower trailer with the 6-meter beam on it there. So, I think it was pretty good there. If people didn't notice on the green trailer there, that's where we added those tubes for holding the tribanders together, which, as happy as I was as everything that went into there was nice, and came out really good for the start of field day, I was really happy how everything went back into it, at the end of field day, because that's what it's supposed to be, is all the parts fit in there, and that's everything for each antenna. And now all we got to do is just do all kind of the cleanup stuff for next year, which includes assembly instructions for the antenna tunings for each individual beam, which that stuff me and Ken talked about there. And then, I made the joke about the no Yaesu rotors. I'm going to purchase a brand new Yaesu 450 rotor to pair with my trailer. So that way that's another rotor that would, be available during field day uses there. Whether it gets used on mine or gets used on something else there. I know we had a TV antenna rotor on the green one, which, maybe get used on there, or I don't know what, but that's just what I thought about there. So other than that, I don't know what else we can say about this. This is our way of getting our antennas up in the air for field day.
Okay, looks good. Looks like a very professional setup. Always impressed when I see these towers on the trailers. Okay, and Dave, are you here? see Dave earlier. So Dave just sent me this picture and said it's a panoramic shot. I had a little trouble kind of fitting it on here.
Yeah, I'm here.
So
Yeah, I just came back from a high adventure with the boys, and I thought, well, I better come over and check it out. And I just ran a panoramic view, and it works better if you were to take the picture itself and expand it and look from there. I thought it would be kind of neat to see the whole profile of where everything is at the park.
Okay.
So I was there on a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and took some of these pictures.
Okay, well, very good. It's an interesting perspective, and just wish my monitor.
It was very difficult to get everything in and still try to find something where something was hidden away. So I thought this was the best way. You could see the generators over to the far left, and other, events way in the back near the parking lot, and then all the way on the north side where you could see all the different antennas.
Okay. Oh, looks great. Thanks for sending that in. So next one, Gary. Okay, this is Bill and Gary, and Bill, you've got two pages of slides here. So if you want to just talk about it, Bill had sent some comments in too.
Okay. What you see here is Gary's, he had a beam antenna up with no rotor. We just turned it by hand. I don't know if he used it much though for field day, to be honest with you. What's more interesting, what you can kind of see there, is the feed line going to a folded dipole. It's only about 7 feet off the ground, held up by a branch, as you can see right there in the middle, while kind of towards the right of the picture. It was a folded dipole cut for 40 meters, and it was only like 7 feet off the ground, and had wires running parallel underneath it that act like a reflector. And Gary used that for field day, and he said it worked very well. Other than that, you got another slide.
Yes.
Okay, there. And there's Gary working right there. And so he was mostly working CW. He did a little bit of single sideband. I did all single sideband on 20 meters. And on the right is a picture of Gary's cottage or cabin. And you can just barely see, if you look directly above the chimney or a little to the left, you can see a G5 RV that's about 30 or 35 feet off the ground running diagonally. And that's the antenna I use. First time I've ever played with a G5 RV, and it worked really well with my antenna tuner. Before field day started, I tried all the bands with it that it was good for. And it was like 40, 20, 15, 10. I don't recall which other ones I tried. I might have tried 12 too. And it seemed to work pretty well on all those bands, but 20 it worked great on. Some of the reports I got from out east were that I was 20 over S9, and I was only using 100 watts. So I was getting they said I was really loud out east. So apparently it was going that way very well. We had a great time spending field day with Gary in the cabin. Is kind of like spending time with Don Rickles. You learn a lot and you get a lot of verbal abuse. So it's a humbling experience.
What radios were you guys using, Bill?
Okay, Gary is using his 991 there, and he had a external antenna tuner that you can see to the left. Underneath his antenna tuner is it's a PC power supply case that he's converted into a bandpass filter, which he was using on his rig, and I had one for 20 meters on mine. The rig I was using was an FT897 with an LDG tuner, and that's about it. I mean, nothing real fancy, just simple radios, and we made quite a few contacts. I think we made 121 contacts single sideband, and I don't recall what Gary said he made. And I'm not sure what our total score is yet. Gary hasn't told me. I'm surprised he isn't on here tonight, but I know he's going to send them in. I talked to him over the weekend at the South Milwaukee Swap Fest. So
This is Peter. I understand from Gary that he bought a tri-fuel generator for this event.
yes, you can't really see it in this picture. It's behind the cabin. Yeah, he had a generator that well, it ran on gasoline and propane for sure. I don't know what the third fuel would have been, but we were running it off propane. We had 20-pound tanks. And one of my duties was to go out in the pouring rain and switch the tanks, which I got pretty good at doing. We got about 9 hours of operation off one tank. And it would have been more, but we were running the whole cabin off the generator, including like the refrigerator and dehumidifier, water pump, everything. So that I'm sure kind of took a lot more load than just our radios and computers. But you know, all in all, it all worked quite well.
Yeah, the third fuel would be natural gas, most likely.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. Yeah, it was really easy to. It has electric start, so it was like there's no futzing around. You switch tanks, hit the button, it starts right up, and you run back to the cabin.
Okay, well, sounds good. Sounds like you had a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time. Really good.
Okay. All right. And Bill, K9GN, are you here this evening? I didn't see you. I didn't see him earlier, but so you guys can read his message. He didn't send any pictures. He was says greatly enjoyed his first field day. That's always nice. First HFQSO in 53 years. So.
Okay. You know, Bill hasn't been to field day. I don't know if he's ever been to field day. Well, I guess not. It says first field day, but he was very helpful to have there for our setup and take down. And so I'm so glad to see that he made a QSO. I didn't know he had done that. So it's another great thing for two fellows that haven't been on the air for a while.
Yeah, you know, he did pretty good there when we had him in the trailer there, and I had him do some logging, and then we also had him on the radio making the contacts. And you know, HF requires that ear, you know, for picking out the stuff, and you know, that's just it's a time and grade kind of thing there. So you know, just like the first year I came to field day with you guys, and you know, I'm sitting there listening to HF going, I don't know how you even pick out any of these call signs, and I still am not that great at it, but you know, I'm a lot better, you know, and can zero in and go, okay, this is what they're saying. So, but it was fun there doing that with them, and you know, letting them get both ways. And I hope he keeps returning back for field day, because you know, this was something he definitely did enjoy, and I think he would enjoy it going on from here.
Okay, very good. Okay, next one, Gary. Okay. And Paul, are you here this evening? Okay, so Paul was operating from home on battery power. And looks like he did okay. And I would say for future reference, guys, if you're operating, wherever you're operating from, if in the future you're doing field day or any other event from home, take pictures and send them in. Always like to see the pictures of the equipment and the people. So it's always good to see. Okay, next one, Gary. And Michael, are you here? Okay, so I guess we'll just kind of take a look at it. And I see these two fine gentlemen in the upper right-hand corner.
All right, well, I can tell you that's Gary and me, and I don't know what I'm carrying. I think it's a piece of Gary's equipment. I don't even know what I got in my hand there. But over to the left, that's the blue trailer, and that was made by Mark Potash. And him and Naomi were members of our club, and Mark had a metal working shop, and he took a trailer and converted it to that. And I think we've been using that trailer for 15 years now. So it was really quite a ingenious invention he came up with. And so the beginning of field day, that's what it always looks like. And I guess that's our CW tent that's in the foreground there.
And I just found Michael's notes. So what he says about this page is, when I arrived on setup morning, I found the tower halfway erect and the guys just sitting around chatting. Were they trying to figure out what to do next? Were they trying to invent an auto erect function? No, someone forgot the rotor and they were discussing plan B. All right, and then Michael says here, I was fascinated with Peter's tennis ball gun to fish a line for the 75-meter dipole through nearby trees. Great invention. Jeff, Bill, and Mike are getting ready to mate the antenna and rotor at the other end of the field day campus. What a contraption Gary has for this antenna. I'm still trying to figure out how it works. Gary, did you finally get it to tune up? And I think the answer to that was no.
No, we didn't. We had other issues, and this was kind of like a tertiary antennas, and with the other bands, it really wasn't necessary. So we didn't put much effort into. I got an idea how to redesign it, so it'll be a lot better for next year.
Was it a vertical or what was it?
Yeah, it's a vertical, but it has elevated radials. They're short, and if you see right below the hand there is an inductor, and you use the inductor to actually tune the radials to get the right SWR. And this antenna is usually pretty good for California, like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So it has a low angle of radiation, whereas the dipole has a higher angle of radiation. It's for more local stuff. But we did have good opening into California, one of the better ones this year, even without in the 40 meters.
All right, thank you, Gary. Next one, Gary. And Michael's notes say, I spent most of my time with Gary N9UUR learning about ham satellite radio. He mounted dual arrow 2-meter 440 satellite antennas with polarization offset 90 degrees on this as-L rotor and installed combiners for a single feed to the transceiver. He uses Mach Doppler to aim the antenna and automatically correct the transceive frequencies for Doppler shift throughout the satellite pass. This was fascinating and inspirational. Great work, Gary. If you have any comment on this, Gary, I think it looks pretty interesting.
No real comment. It's just a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a crazy idea to put 2 arrow antennas together to increase signal strength, etc. Maybe a few bugs yet to work out with it, but I made more contacts this year than many other years. So yeah, 2 arrows combined together. Yeah, it worked.
Great.
Could use a presentation on this. That'd be nice.
Well, there's an idea. We do need something for the September meeting. And Stan provided some historical information about how the ORC did nationwide over a period of years. And you can see we ranked pretty good there for quite a few years.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that data we got out of old newsletters and such. And when I say we, KC9FZK, Nancy, who's sitting next to me and is also on tonight, helped with all of that compilation. So that's a Stan WB9RQR and Nancy KC9FZK effort.
Okay, well, very good. Thanks for putting it together. Okay. And next one, Gary.
My only comment on standings is I can't quote you the exact numbers right now, but this year we had more raw points than 19 and a little less than 18. So those exact numbers will be coming sometime when I get the final tallies done. But just the contact points, not the bonus points, but we were more than the last time we did field day.
Okay, very good. And Bill, you've got 3 slides here, I believe.
Okay, well, I'll just start out. I used a different station on the 2 days. You know, I do have a reputation for being a hardware man on this stuff, but I used my FT2000 on Saturday and turned the slide. And then on Sunday, I ran the Swan 750 CW. Now, by that time, Swan had quit using the numbers to indicate the power level. That radio puts out about 150 watts, 140, 150 watts. So for the information there, let's go to the next page, the last page. So Saturday, I had the FT2000, used a ProSet Elite 5.1 headset and a Bencher BY1 key for CW. I'd also, as the first time I'd ever used Yaesu's FH2 remote control. The FT2000 has voice keyer, CW, memories and stuff like that. I'd set it up. I didn't do that many CW contacts on Saturday. Did a few more on Sunday without all those features. But I highly recommend that if you're using a Yaesu radio. I picked up the FH2 when I got my FTDX 101, but it works with quite a few of the radios back to the MP, I believe. So, you know, the FT1000 MP Mark V. So Sunday, then I used the Swan 750 CW, about 140 watts out. Telex, old Telex 600 ohm headphones, and not headset. A Shure 444 microphone, which, you know, I didn't take the time to set up a headset to work with the Swan. Using any kind of a hand microphone when you want to use a logging program is almost an exercise in futility. If you remember the picture there, I had an old Hallicrafters HA1 keyer, but I used a more modern Bencher key with it. So the computer was a Dell Inspiron i5 notebook running Windows 10 Pro, logging software, N3FJP, version 6.6, that's the current one. For me, the club affiliation will be Wisconsin Amateur Radio Club. QSOs, I did 96 contacts on CW, mostly Saturday, late afternoon, early evening. And then CW, I did 13 contacts, but only did 3 with the memory setup and everything on the FT2000. All the others were on the FPL or the Swan 750. Total operating time was only 3.5 hours. That's all the time I had. So that explains a number of contacts. I used the time recording part of N3FJP. You have to remember to turn that on and off, but it turns itself off after a few minutes of being idle. But that 3.5 hours included a 45-minute rag chew with another vintage radio operator. So really only operated a little close to just under 3 hours. So anyway, had a pretty good time, just not enough time to do what I wanted to do for the event. So that's it.
Okay, looks very good, Bill. So how did the Swan do in the busy field day conditions?
You know, it did pretty well. In fact, the 750 CW was called the CW Man's Dream. And I don't know what their reasoning for that is. One thing I can say is that's the first Swan in the whole series, the 350, the 500, the 700, and the 750 CW, where the side tone actually operates. Usually it's a buzzy nightmare of a mess on things like the 500. but it worked on there. And then they added audio filters, which I used that day. They worked pretty well. So I had about I think it's 800 cycle. There's a 250, which is too narrow in that application, and an 800 cycle filter. So it did pretty well. I could have done more. My problem was the lack of automation, I guess, especially on the phone side. Go ahead.
Okay, well, very interesting. I haven't been brave enough to use vintage gear for a field day or any real busy activity for some time, but
well, you can do it. The problem is mostly the keying on CW. I didn't realize how used to QSK I'd gotten. And whenever I use one of these old gears, pieces of gear on CW, it's just like you're waiting for something to happen all the time. And I don't remember that being that way in the past. I've just gotten used to, QSK. So that was my only issue about CW on the radio. You'd be surprised how well it works, though.
well, to give it a try. Okay, and so thank you, Bill. And next slide, Gary. And Fred.
Okay, well, I assisted the LaFrog group. We set up on Friday and tore down on Sunday at the Port Washington Justice Center. That's probably, I don't know, 5, 6 miles, 7 miles maybe from the ORC site. They operated 5A this year, put up a 50-foot tower and a 30-foot tower with a tri-bander, a bunch of wire antennas and a vertical, and had a number of people come in. But I don't know, I guess I'm still in the COVID mode a little bit here, and I decided to work at home again this year as Class 1D. Next slide, Gary. Operated low power. I used my normal end-fed half-wave antenna, which is hanging in a tree, and a fan dipole as well, although most of it was with the end-fed half-wave wire. I did 532 digital contacts on FT4 primarily, FT4 and FT8, 226 phone contacts, so a total of 758. I copied the 1AW bulletin on Friday evening, so you get an extra 100 points and you get 50 for submitting for the web, so that was 2,730 preliminary score is what I had. Next slide. I guess the best band for me was 40 meters. I worked 71 of the 84 sections in the US and Canada. I missed the 15-meter opening. I did check a couple times, but I think there was some 15-meter activity, and I looked in the log and I see I didn't do anything on 15 meters. I thought my FT4 rate on digital was kind of disappointing. I think the problem I have, and I'm still learning this, is I got to switch bands more often. When you kind of exhaust the people that happen to be on the band right at that given time, you got to move on and look for new ground. And I tend to hang in there too long. And N3FJP has a rate meter, and that's a nice clue to you. It's always flashing in your face, and as it's counting down in your hourly rate, it's time to move, and I've got to watch that more closely. So that was what I did this year. I think I equaled my score from last year at about 10 o'clock in the morning. So I did better than last year, about the same number of phone contacts, a few more digital contacts. So it was fun. I guess you sit in the air conditioning, you don't get rained on, and you don't have any mosquitoes, but it's not the same. So that was my field day for this year. And again, I was submitted my score tied to the LaFrog guys. That's it for me.
Well, Fred, I see that that new fancy dancy paddle you got wasn't put to use for this contest. What's your plans for next year?
I don't know, Vic. I don't know. I guess I'll have to come over and listen to your work sometime. I'm sure you guys can work a lot faster than even the FT4. When I took a look, I think I was running, well, I don't know what it was in good times. I looked as the score shows here, you can do about 32 contacts an hour, and that's nowhere near enough. But there's dead times in there too. So I know you guys can go a lot faster.
We had some rates on CW that short-term rates were, if we could have done the whole hour that way, would have been over like 230 contacts an hour. Just ran out of guys to work.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm trying to remember offhand. Maybe I had some up around, I think I was over 60 on FT. Well, no, it was probably about that. That's about all you can do, even when you got people stacked up. So it's I'll never catch you, but yeah, I wanted to do some of the digital because you get double points for it versus phone. So it's to me, it's more fun working phone. I enjoy that more, but and they give you twice as many points. I don't know why. I don't think they should. I think working the digital stuff's probably a lot easier than working phone. And maybe you got to get 3 for CW and 2 for phone and 1 for the digital modes or something like that. It would be a little more equal, I guess, for people. But that was it. And I'm still in the process. In fact, I went to Home Depot today to pick up hopefully the last thing I need to build a 6-meter antenna. I haven't been on 6 meters. I don't have an antenna. And at field day, or not at field day, but at the Swap Fest, I picked up some hardware that'll work as extenders on my existing fan dipole to give me 160 meters. So I don't have 160 or 60, and I'm looking forward to that in the future. That's it.
Okay, I'm having trouble hearing you guys. There we go. I can see the picture again. So I'll just talk and hopefully you can hear me. So I did field day from Dunbar, Wisconsin, where I've been doing it every year for about 20 years. And this year I did not have a lot of time to operate. I had to get this tree cut up and out of the way. This tree had come down in a storm a few weeks ago. And this was going to be one of my antenna trees for field day, so I had to modify the plan. One thing I did not have to work on was the deck. The deck was all nicely finished and everything was ready to go. But we have a big family party on 4th of July, and I had quite a bit of other work to do with working on the plumbing and some other stuff I needed to get done. So I didn't have a lot of time for field day. I operated for about 4 hours, just under 100 contacts, and all emergency power with my nice little Ford generator, which does a great job. Next one, Gary. So there's a picture of the operating position there out in the on a table out in the garage, and it's just the computer and the radio. Maybe see the antenna tuner, and the whole setup worked pretty good. Then also can see the kind of what the woods looks like. So I really was out in the woods doing this. That's a shot of the garage up from the house. And because Stan wasn't there, I had to run the grill myself. And so made some nice kebabs. They were with some spicy peanut sauce. So that was a fun part of the field day weekend also.
I had a question for anybody that was at ORC setup. Was there any interference between your location and LaFrog? What'd you say, Fred? You were about 5 miles apart?
Well, I didn't operate from the LaFrog side. I operated from home. And the only thing I heard from ORC is I worked Tom in the middle of the night. But none of the LaFrog guys mentioned any interference from any other stations. Of course, you always fight that yourself with your other field day brothers. And I think they had a little bit of that, but apparently not too bad.
Okay.
So I think we're far enough away from LaFrog or from ORC that I'll ask them next time I talk to them, but they didn't mention anything.
I just wondered, it was closest I'd known of any two being apart, but for as many field days as we have in the area, I don't remember ever having any problem.